So another weekend ruined by Forest. But the good news is they're not playing next weekend, so they can't ruin that for us. But Ange has to go by Tuesday, and I'll tell you why. Welcome to my post-match thoughts. Hi guys, hope you're doing well, and welcome to another video on the channel. Coming up, we'll have a very quick kind of overview of the game because I actually think Ange may have been treated a little harshly in terms of some of the comments I've seen on him from yesterday's games. We need to talk about why Tuesday becomes a key day, at the very least in my mind. We need to talk about Marinakis as well. There's a few kind of thoughts I've got on the Greek father and a few other bits and bobs in between. So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling up, whatever excuse you can find, just do me a quick favor right now. Hit that like button. You guys got us over 1,000 likes on all the videos yesterday. Shout out to you guys. You get us to, let's go for 502. So let's see if we can get over 502 on this. Make sure you're subscribed if you're new. Thank you to everyone who's grabbed me a coffee. You can grab me one by scanning that QR code or clicking on the link that's pinned in the comments. Okay, let's muster up the energy to talk Forest. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm Forest fatigued. It's the first time for a long time that I'm actually quite happy about an international break. I can't lie to you. Like, roll on England playing some team that I don't even know who it is. Roll on no injuries, hopefully, for our players. But roll on talking about Newcastle 2, Forest 0. Now, the reason I say I think it was harsh on Ange yesterday is mainly because I think the goals were down to individual errors. Have you ever seen Elliot Anderson take a lazy touch like that in our box and then panic and then hack down the opposition player to give away a penalty? No. Have you ever seen Morgan Gibbs-White try to do a flick on the edge of our own box and get caught? Yeah, you have, Crystal Palace. Okay, but these are individual errors. I think we set up nicely in the first half. I just think Newcastle were able to kind of figure out what they needed to do in the halftime break, and then they got it done. They got it done. Look, if Gibbs-White hadn't done what he'd done and Elliot Anderson hadn't done what he'd done, I still think Newcastle probably would have got a 1-0 win, something like that. So that's why I feel like every finger being pointed at Ange is probably a bit harsh. But it's the sum of all fears. It's the amalgamation of all these results. It's built up into a crescendo now where it feels like he had to get something out of Newcastle or he's a dead man walking. And that is the point. When you get to the stage, for me, where a manager gets to, he must get something out of this game. I don't understand that logic. Because if you're already having that discussion about the manager needs to turn the results around now, or he's out, then there's a reason you're having that discussion, if that makes sense. Now, how that can work is if you say, okay, the manager's had 3.5 weeks. We're going to give him the next 5 games to the November international break to see if he can turn the form around and results around, etc. That makes more sense. But it just feels like the media have built it up to this Newcastle one. And this brings me on to my point about Tuesday. When Ange came in, he came in the Monday or Tuesday before the international break had finished, right? So international breaks, as we all know, are about 2 weeks long. And he came in that second week where he only had a couple of days with the players. There was a media frenzy and everything like that. If Ange is to be sacked, my point here is this. He has to be sacked by Tuesday. And Forest already need to have lined up Marco Silva or whoever else it is. Some of you saying Xavi. I'd love Xavi. We ain't getting Xavi. Maybe Marinakis can do something. I don't know. But my point is this. I don't want this to rumble on for a week and then come next Tuesday, see you next Tuesday, then Ange gets sacked. That then just puts us in the same position with the new manager that we found ourselves in with Ange. Okay? And I just think there's too much outside noise. There's too much of the fan base that turned on him. We all saw what happened in the Europa League match midweek where, you know, you're getting sacked in the morning was the chant from the crowd. Whether you agree with it or not, that's the mood of the base right now, okay? Or a good section of the base. For him to turn around and win the crowd back, he needs to go www. Yeah, it's like a website address. It doesn't feel like he's going to do that. The body language of the players didn't look great. There was all this crap on social media about, oh, look at the players. They're ignoring Ange on the pitch. And it was like so out of context what it was. There isn't any of that. But the thing that's just made me feel like this is a dead man walking was his post-match interview. Not the softball questions he got from Colin. When he actually sat down with the press, he was biting back big time. He said to one of the pressers, and I'm taking this out of context and paraphrasing, but he basically said, look, life isn't hard. Life isn't easy. There's always hard. Basically, what he was saying is you don't give up. He then said, I'm sure your parents had struggles. I'm sure you've disappointed your parents. Did they just kind of give up on you? And I get the point he was making, but he doesn't need to lash out. He kind of just gives sound bites, and the press people are there just getting excited, sharpening their pencils and everything, right? So I just feel like the relationship needs to end. But this comes down to a pride thing now, I think, with Marinakis. Is Marinakis or Edu or both, or the hierarchy, whoever's in the club, are they prepared to sit down and say to themselves, well, we kind of messed up here. This course hasn't gone quite right. Can we just re-guide the ship back onto the right sail? Or do they have enough trust in Ange? And I think this is my dividing point here. I've trusted so much in Marinakis over the years. I think he's got 98% of his decisions correct. And even the decisions I disagreed with him on, like, I could make an argument for why he's done them. Has he seen something in Ange that we are failing to see? Is there a process coming through? Are players who are coming back that important? For example, Douglas Luiz should be back for the Chelsea match. Murillo should be back for the Chelsea match. They are two players that you would say are, first names on the team sheet with the likes of Elliot Anderson and Nico Williams. That's like a huge chunk. Don't forget Einar's out. So is there a bit of injury FC excuses that are being played within the club? Are they going to say, right, once Douglas Luiz is fit, once Murillo's fit, once he has his established back four, his established midfield, let's see how he does till November? And I just think if he's still here on Tuesday, he's staying. But I think Marinakis needs to just hold the L and say, all right, fine. Because losing the fan base is a big thing. Now, Forest won't make their decisions based on fan base. We do know that Forest kept Cooper in at the end of the first season after the Leeds game because of the atmosphere at home and the kind of support that Cooper had, right? So there is times where they've taken it, but I don't think right now that bothered on if the fan base, because I think the majority is Ange out, right? Whenever we've done polls, it's like 65 to 70% are Ange out, and then 30% Ange in. There's probably 10% of those votes are Spurs fans, for example. So, look, what I would say, guys, is don't get too down about the whole thing. It's still very early days. A couple of W's and Forest are back roughly where they should be. But if we're sitting here in November, at the end of November, should I say, and we haven't really picked up many points, then we can look back at this if Marinakis does decide to stick with Ange and say he's not only made the mistake, he's compounded it. But this is why he is where he is. Maybe he knows something we don't. But maybe Ange is gone by Tuesday. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, we got a lot to discuss later on Grumpy Old Reds. That will be at about 7, I think, tonight. So make sure you're tuned in for that. But let me know your general mood in the comments. Like, in a way, I'm just glad that Forest aren't playing next weekend. I'm already thinking, what can I do that isn't football related? I kind of need a break from it. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So let me know how your mood is. And we'll see you later on tonight on Grumpy Old Reds. Make sure you've liked. Make sure you've subscribed. If you want to go check out the player ratings, if you didn't see them from last night, I'll leave them on the end screen. Until then, thank you for watching. Thank you all for your support on you Reds.